Hey, I'm Chris Ralph, the professional prospector, and as you can see, I'm in a cemetery. I was dry washing earlier today, but I'm filming a different kind of video. I'm giving you fair warning that this is a video that's going to be a lot different from my others. Now, earlier this year, I promised that I would do a video on the meaning of life. This is that video. That is a huge topic, but the principles that I'm going to talk about here are something that has changed my life completely, changed my life greatly and for the better. I can assure you that I am not the person that I would have been otherwise, that I am a kinder, a gentler, more charitable individual. I'm not perfect, never would claim for that, but I'm not the person I would have otherwise been. I'm a much better man, and it's changed the lives, not just my life, but the lives of millions of other people as well. Now I'm going to start out, as appropriate for a cemetery, with a very dark and difficult discussion. But I'm going to finish with something with hope, something that would give you something to look forward to. Want to find out how I'll do that? Well, stick around to the end of the video and you'll find out. Now I know that some folks will just love this video, but others, not so much. And if you don't like this discussion, well then feel free to come back for the next video next week, because we'll be back to the same discussions of mining and gold prospecting and gemstones and rock hounding and related types of stuff that I usually cover. I'm not changing the nature of this channel. Now, the search for meaning, it's a difficult topic. I'm at a cemetery in Virginia City. The people here lived during a very exciting time when there was gold and silver coming out of the mines. I mean, there was wealth all over and people were making fortunes every day. The West, in those days, was truly wild. But do you know any of the people that are buried here? Me neither. You may not like the thought, but when we are dead and gone, after a certain amount of time, no one will remember us either. Death is the great equalizer. Whether you are rich or poor, famous or unknown, white or brown, male or female, it doesn't matter. Whatever you are, death is coming for you and me. Now, the day that we die may be tomorrow or it may be decades from now. But whatever it is, whenever, it's coming, and there will be a time when we too will pass on. The grave is like the Borg. Resistance is futile. You will be absorbed by death, and to dust your body will return. If an individual passes out of existence when he dies, what is the ultimate meaning that can be given to our lives? Did anything these folks do really matter? Does it matter if they ever existed at all? Does it matter if we ever exist at all? People will try to find meaning in many places, in relationships, in various forms of wealth, in power, politics, in religion, or in knowledge. For some, their entire life is basically a pilgrimage, searching for meaning and significance in their lives, wherever it can be found. But what is in us that drives us to search for meaning or significance in our lives? We live in a time when many believe that there's nothing really more than the natural things around us. Just matter and energy swirling through space and time. That there's nothing more than that. There's nothing supernatural. If this material existence is all there is, then what does it matter what you believe? In death, the void of nothingness offers you no meaning, no hope, no significance, no truth, no beauty. The only ultimate truth is death and nothingness. If this material existence is all there is, our lives have no ultimate value. The universe is indifferent to us and doesn't care about us or our feelings. If there's nothing more than this material realm, then life is utterly pointless, meaningless, and absurd. If this material existence is all there is, then we are a chemical reaction and nothing more. Life is basically a slow-burning chemical reaction that consumes fuel and reproduces. Fire is a chemical reaction that burns fuel and reproduces. It's just fire burns a little faster than most life forms. For us, being alive means that our personal chemical reaction continues. But someday, the parts of our body that keep our personal chemical reaction going will fail, and the reaction will cease, and we will no longer be what you and I call alive. The indifferent universe will go on, and eventually, like these folks here, no one will remember you or me. And yet most of us live and act as if we will never face death, as if our lifetimes will never end. None of us likes the idea of death, and so we push it away as far from us as we can get. Most of us live in denial of the fact that death is coming for us and is unavoidable. So the thought of our own death, it makes us feel bad. But you can only ignore death for so long. If you do not fear death, you should. We would be better off to be like a cow. A cow does not worry about significance and meaning in its life. It does not try to find something more. The cow does not despair over the futility of its life. But for us, the unavoidable thought that our lives are insignificant, irrelevant, and devoid of meaning, that idea is a very depressing thought. But we are not like other animals, like cows and dogs and birds and fish. Our mental consciousness of something more, something as complex as meaning and purpose and significance, make us very different than a cow. Our despair over the inevitability of life's end and our desire for something more make us very different than other animals. We either fear death or we are living in denial. And most of us are in denial. So let go of your denial and open your eyes. In form, we are the same as animals, but our inner realization of self is wildly different. We have this inward desire for something fulfilling, something good, something meaningful, and something more fulfilling than a life like a flickering flame that gets snuffed out. We desire real truth, not just another lie or some sort of self-delusion. We desire to become something more than just a flame that flickers for a second and then dies. Yet no government, no dictator, no political system, no scientific study, no human philosophy can possibly give us the meaning, purpose, and fulfillment that we are seeking. Significance and meaning must come from outside the system, outside the material universe that we live in. It must come from a source beyond the physical universe. Now, whatever your personal beliefs are, I just want to get you to think about the fact that there's possibly something beyond just this material existence. I'd like to consider the idea that there may be an intelligent and intentional creator. Too many folks just reject this out of hand, and there's usually other reasons as to why they're doing that. And the reasons typically have nothing to do with God or the search for God. So if you have various reasons for not believing in a God, let's temporarily set those aside and investigate the matter. It's not about what you want things to be. It's not about your desire to be in control of everything that you do. It's about what is true, and it's an important question worth seriously pondering. The point that I've been making is that life without God is absurd, pointless, and meaningless, devoid of beauty and insignificant. There's no escape from that. You cannot will yourself into meaning, significance, and value. You can only fool yourself into thinking that somehow you can create deep meaning with your own personal decisions. Similar to Gödel's incompleteness theorem, any meaning or purpose or significance must come from outside the system that we're in. If there is a creator that has made this universe, then the creator will be the source of purpose and meaning within the system that he's created. However, if there really is nothing more than matter and energy swirling through space and time, we're doomed. Selfish men who desire power above all else will eventually trigger a nuclear disaster that wipes all humanity off this planet. Since humanity now has the power to commit self-suicide, how long will it be that we're able to restrain our anger? I believe our desire to find deep meaning can be fulfilled in a relationship with God. Now please stick with me on this, as there are a myriad of reasons to believe in God. To delve into them deeply in this video is beyond the scope of what I'm doing here. Hundreds of books have been written on the search for God, but it suffices me just to touch on a few points. We live in a universe that just happens to be extremely fine-tuned and exactly right for life. Physicists have known for decades that the constants and physical characteristics of our universe, our solar system, and even our planet are all very precisely adjusted to favor complex life forms. Such exactness is incredibly unlikely to just happen randomly. It's so incredibly unlikely that there really is no rational alternative to the requirement for an intelligent designer as the cause. Life itself is made up of a complex set of highly specialized chemicals that interact very precisely. We have searched for decades to try and figure out how life might have come to exist by a random accident of nature and natural causes, but we're actually farther from coming up with the answer than we thought we were way back in the 1950s. We keep finding out how incredibly complex even the most simple forms of life are. Additionally, we have spent decades searching carefully throughout the universe for intelligent life forms in our galaxy, and to the best of our knowledge, we are unique and alone. Material scientists have long had a serious problem explaining the human consciousness in terms of the brain only. Physical brain injury does not always correlate well with resulting mental capacity. Something more complex is happening in our consciousness, and scientists have debated for decades just how the brain actually works. There's good reason to believe that our consciousness is more than just a simple firing of neurons in our heads. This fact seems to point out that we have some sort of underlying consciousness that endures and perhaps does not evaporate when our physical bodies die. Death is either the end of all things, or it's a doorway to a different existence. Mankind has always been a species interested in community and relationships with other humans. We want and need relationships with others. We want to connect with others through love, to be loved, and to give love. Some people seek to find the meaning that we're after in relationships with others, and certainly relationships with other humans offer us more meaning than the quest for wealth and power and that sort of thing. It's a deeper thing than search for wealth. But one can only get so close to meaning in relationships. Other humans are still not a source of the type of deeper meaning and significance that we're seeking. The deep desire to find hope for a fulfilling purpose, for meaning and significance to life that cuts across all cultures and communities of humans points to something inborn, an inborn desire for a relationship with someone greater than our physical world. If we are intentionally created by a God with a desire for things only He can provide, it seems likely that He would also want a relationship with us. Mankind has sought through various religions to gain some sort of relational community with God since our earliest times of civilization. Considering all that, the single most influential man in all of history claimed that he was born to create a bridge between God and man. Whether you believe he was successful or not, scholars basically universally agree that Jesus thought of himself as some sort of special agent from God to mankind. He thought of himself as having been sent from heaven to intercede and break down the wall between God and man. He explained that the foundation of all of God's direction to His creation on how we should live was basically based on two commands: to love God with all your heart and soul, and to love your neighbor as yourself. If there really is a God who loves mankind and wants a relationship with us, He would want us to love Him and also to love and be kind to one another. Jesus' ideas were every bit as revolutionary 2,000 years ago as they are today. It is in that kind of relationship of loving God and loving our fellow man that there really is potential for meaning and significance. Yet it's not easy to live out the concept of loving God and loving other people. It goes against our innate desire to do what we want to do, not what someone else tells us that we should do. We have a natural inclination to be selfish, to focus on ourselves, and to put our desires first and do what we want to do, in spite of how it might affect others. But the way of love is better than the way of selfishness and is better for us and our communities. What exactly is this godly love? It is actively willing the good of the other person above ourselves. To show love is to practice kindness, patience, grace, and forgiveness in dealing with others. It is to love our neighbor as much as we love ourselves, and not just in word or in thought, but in our actions. It is to love others in the way that God loves us. It is a call to forgive and be generous to those who dislike us, those who despise us and even have hurt us. Through this kind of altruistic love, we are connecting with God and connecting with others. It is in serving and helping others with kindness and true sincerity that we are demonstrating our love toward God with our whole being. In loving God and loving others, we find the meaning and purpose in life. None of us can accomplish this on our own, with our own power. We need God's help, and that is where Jesus comes in as a Savior to open up the way to a different sort of life apart from our selfish desires. God offers us a choice. We can choose to live as we please, considering only our own selfish desires, or we can turn from our ways and accept His gift of reconciliation and seek His help to live a life of love toward God and others. Learning to put into practice a walk of love is a lifelong process of growth and change. Through prayer and faith, we continue to seek God's love in all the facets of our lives. None of us is perfect, but we are seeking to grow. Through God's help, our lives are changed and we find focus in love, and through that love, we find hope, meaning, and significance. If all of this sounds strange or like something that you would just tend to immediately reject, I encourage you to slow down and take some time to fully consider things. Some folks are so staunchly committed to their own inner will that they cannot stand the thought of a creator God. I ask that you keep an open mind and not reject this out of hand without a serious examination. It is worthy of all consideration because death is coming for us all, and probably sooner than we would like. If you cannot easily comprehend the thought of a creator God, take time to consider the exquisite beauty of a colorful sunset or the beauty of a pristine natural landscape. These can offer glimpses into the transcendent reality that is beyond this material world. The beauty of creation is full of things like symmetry, harmony, order, balance, a repetition of patterns based on a theme, all of which are well-recognized characteristics of things that are beautiful. The application of these principles is not limited. The characteristics of beauty and design extend through the entirety of creation, covering all scales of existence, from the subatomic to the intergalactic. People can perceive the raw beauty in this creation, and even most children can see it. I would urge you to take the time to read the 4 New Testament Gospels about the life of Jesus and consider His words carefully. Keep an open mind as you read. If you haven't already done this, you'll find the story of His life gripping. Jesus is a tremendously attractive person in the wisdom of His teaching, in the depth of His character, and the authenticity of His life. It's by trusting in this man Jesus and following His teachings that we become the men and women of grace, kindness, and love that we were meant to be. You can talk directly with Him by a simple prayer because He knows your very thoughts. If you wish to investigate these thoughts further, there are plenty of resources out there. I hope you'll take the time to look into it. I'll put links to some thought-provoking videos in the descriptions and also here up above in this video. I appreciate your sticking with me through this entire video. I have long wanted to share this with you. It's genuinely good news, and when you have good news, you want to share it with your friends. I can say without hesitation that this knowledge has made a tremendous difference in my life and in the lives of millions of others. I'm not lonely, as He is always with me. He is a stronghold and source of assurance in times of trials and difficulties, and we all face troubled times in our lives. Now, as far as comments on this, if you have questions, feel free to ask. As I always do, I respond to all my comments. I will do my best to help, and I look forward to hearing from you. So think about what I have said, and consider the desire that we all have for something meaningful in our lives, and look to the life and teachings of Jesus, because like I say, it's changed my life and it's changed the life of millions and millions of others. It's worth looking into. The satisfaction of my desire for meaning and purpose in my life is anchored in my faith in Jesus. He is worthy of our trust, and in Him we find the fuller life and meaning that we are looking for.